Alright, I've made a few teasers, but now it's time for the actual review of this 1965 Royal Empress that we named Big Eddie. Big Eddie was found in pouring rain outside of an antique store, not too far from where I live, and upon discovering a few interesting traits as this typewriter has, we decided to purchase it for the large sum of $20 the man asked for it. I don't think he cared all that much, to be honest. We did. Initially we felt sorry for the fact that there was this machine and an Olympia SG1 sitting outside in the rain. Sadly, the Olympia was too far gone to do anything with. It was rusted. This one looked like it was put out that day. It was completely rust free. Normally I wouldn't pick up a Royal Empress, but upon closer inspection we discovered that this typewriter in fact types 6 characters per inch and is fitted with bulletin font. So the moment we noticed that, we decided, you know what, we're going to buy it and we're going to have some fun with this. Because 6 CPI is a rare font to find. You don't see very much of them. I've only seen a couple actually on the web. I've never seen one in person. So upon that discovery we snagged it. Now this was back in the fall of 2021 and we're now about 4 or 5 months later on. It sat on the shelf for a bit. I had other projects to attend to and this past week I finally got around to it. And here sits the final product. It is completely cleaned. I took all the paneling off, a few components here and there. Didn't feel like taking the carriage off because unlike a regular sized Royal typewriter, this one has, I think it's 10 carriage guides that have to be removed and 4 ball bearings with star wheels. It would be opening up a can of worms, and removing a warped panel that sits underneath here, the carriage actually started to work properly again. It was not the escapement that I initially thought was the problem with this typewriter. It was just an inhibitor over here. So at the point where I realized this thing works fine, I opted not to remove the carriage. This typewriter typing 6 characters per inch, it actually makes for a very interesting overall machine. There are a lot of traits this machine has that you don't really notice with the naked eye, that once you get into it and you know what you're looking at are actually quite funny. Maybe you've already noticed that this typewriter lacks shift keys. Well, the thing is, this machine doesn't have a shift mechanism at all. It's because the character is so big, it types, it wouldn't be able to fit 2 rows two typeface rows, because rows of typeface, because it just wouldn't fit in the machine mechanically. It wouldn't be able to type on the plat. I mean, the plat would have to be twice the width in order to work that. And the type slugs would have to be this big. It's quite comical, actually. I'll give you a display of it rather than trying to explain it, because I'm suffering at it horribly. But there are a few other aspects. For example, the gaps of the carriage wheel teeth, they're twice as wide as on a normal size typewriter. Even though this has a color selector that appears to be a 3-position color selector, it only will toggle to stencil and black. The red function on this does not work. It is actually prevented by a screw that is placed in the machine in factory that will not allow you to toggle to red. The ribbon vibrator will actually raise to the center point instead of either at the top half or the lower half, which you would have on a normal typewriter, in order to fit 2-color ribbon. Again, because the typeface is too large to type on one side of the ribbon. It has regular backspace and tab. The keyboard is quite interesting as well. Let's see if I can get a proper angle here. If you'll notice, because there is no shift, there's only numerals on top, there's no symbols. I've got brackets, I've got ampersands, I got a hyphen, underscore, slash, comma, and period. And that's it. There's no apostrophes, quotation marks, nothing. And that's because the machine is still a regular sized Royal Empress. It just has a large carriage because, of course, on a machine with this size type font, it's nice to use big papers. I plan on sending a few very large size letters to a few friends of mine. Going over this machine mechanically, or going through it, I also discovered that, for example, the shift mechanism is largely deleted on this typewriter. However, if I take off the cover, and I'll place you again in the position, well, you won't be able to really see it here. Hold on, let me see if I can make this more visually appealing. And this thing weighs about 50 pounds. I think it's by far the largest typewriter I own now. But let's have a look here on the underside, because you'll notice, perhaps, so the way Royal shift mechanisms usually work is that you have the segment, the type basket, that lowers and raises on two ball bearings that are run through a channel over here and here, and then the shift or the type basket is adjusted in height with these nuts and bolts over here and here as well. And then on the normal Royal typewriter, you would have a bracket on each side here, a bell crank, and a key lever that runs through the shift keys on the keyboard. Now all of that has been eliminated. The type basket is still a regular type basket. The ball bearings are actually in their channels with the guides, but they're locked in place because in the factory they adjusted the shift adjustment to the point where the basket can't move. It is actually positioned in such a way that the type alignment is correct on the page. In order to rectify it, you could actually get another Royal. Let's say you wanted to bring this typewriter back to a normal typeface. You'd have to get the type bars, naturally, different carriage rails and escapement, because the escapement gear is actually also geared differently, of course, because it has space twice as much as a normal typewriter. And this machine, it has, you would have to get the bell crank mechanism and all that. And then you could loosen these bolts and nuts and adjust it to the point where the basket will shift, raise and lower, in order to facilitate the dual type elements that the regular type bars would be fitted with. Alternatively, I'm just going to put this back. There's not much. You have only 1 and 2 line spacing on this machine, because the carriage return lever can only do so much with the leverage that it has, with the rotation that it has, and of course the platen has to advance further, so the platen gear is also, or the ratchet on the platen is also geared differently. There's a lot of distinct differences that you look at when you go over this machine that might seem normal, but they're actually quite different, and they went a different way with it at the factory. It was customized in order to make this typeface work. It's quite funny, because I'll show you what the type slugs look like. I think I did that in the other video, but they're nice and clean now. And you can see there's actually an arch in the slugs in order to match the curvature of the platen, so that the typeface is clear. Else you would only have the center part of the elements printed. All in all, this machine is just goofy, but it's an interesting concept for sure. The serial number also reflects the different typeface. So with Royal Empress, we usually say MCC, P for Pica, or E for Elite, and then the serial number. This machine has MCS, S for Special. Now usually MCS, Royal Empress, it doesn't immediately mean that it's a Bulletin 6 CPI typewriter. It can indicate a special keyboard, a special font. In this case, it just happens to be a rather customized example of a Royal Empress. But I have not seen another example of these. I've seen a couple of bulletin font typewriters on the internet, but that's it. They're not common. Have a look at the back side. This thing is tremendously heavy. I would put it on a Lazy Susan, but it doesn't fit in the workbench. Here's a look at the back. It is made in Canada, this one. If you'll notice, I put silver tape on the back panel on this because the paint was flaking really bad here. It looks like someone had put packing tape on it. I'm not sure what the plan is with this typewriter. I plan on keeping it, that's for sure. I'm thinking I'm going to customize it myself. I'm thinking of repainting it. Doing a few funky things with it. I have no idea what yet. I hope time will tell me. But as it sits now and as it looks now, that's probably not the outcome of the finished project. I'm probably having it repainted. Making it a bit iconic because in itself it already is. It's unusual, it's rare, it's very fun to type on. You get very creative. I got large size paper that I'm going to use, and yeah, this machine, it will get used a lot. It will be a lot of fun, and if you follow this channel or the Facebook page associated, you'll be seeing more of it. So anyways, next up is a typing sample. Please stay tuned for that video.